Two men built the same life, same house, same income, same family. The first one struggled for 30 years to get there. The second found a smarter path and got there in 10. Now, who gets more respect? You already know the answer, and that's the problem. Why does a man who works three jobs get more respect than a man who works smart and retires at 40? Why does the mother who sacrificed everything get more love than the mother who chose herself too? Why do we admire the person who struggled for 30 years more than the person who found a shortcut in 3? We don't just respect suffering in India, we worship it. And we are suspicious of anyone who escaped it too easily. Think about the people we call inspirational. The farmer who works in the scorching heat with cracked hands, the student who studied by streetlight because there was no electricity at home, the father who never took a vacation in 35 years. These are the stories we share. These are the people we put on pedestals. Now think about a cousin who found a smarter way, who worked fewer hours but earned more, who built something on their own terms, who didn't suffer and still succeeded. What's the first thing people say? What luck. Something doesn't add up. Not celebration, but suspicion. Because in our culture, success without visible struggle doesn't feel legitimate. Why? Because somewhere along the way, we confused pain with value. We started believing that if something didn't hurt, it didn't count. That ease means cheating. That rest means laziness. That success without suffering is somehow illegitimate. And this belief didn't appear by accident. It was built. For centuries, survival in India required suffering. Farmers depended on rain, families depended on harvest. One bad season meant hunger. Suffering wasn't a choice, it was life. And so communities began to honor it because honoring suffering was the only way to make it bearable. If your pain has meaning, you can endure it. If your sacrifice is seen, it feels worth it. So we built a culture that celebrated struggle, and slowly, struggle became the only thing we knew how to celebrate. Look at how we talk about our parents. My father worked his entire life for us. My mother never bought anything for herself. They sacrificed everything, and we say these things with pride. But ask yourself, is that a success story? Or is it a tragedy we have learned to admire? A father who worked his entire life and never enjoyed it. A mother who gave everything and kept nothing. We call that love. But maybe it's also a system that never gave them another option. And instead of questioning the system, we glorified the suffering. We made martyrdom the highest form of parenting. So now every generation tries to outsuffer the last because that's how you earn respect. And here's where it gets personal. Have you ever achieved something easily and felt guilty about it? Got a good grade without studying much? Landed a job through a connection? Built something that took off faster than expected? Instead of feeling proud, you felt the need to explain yourself. I got lucky, I had help, it wasn't that hard actually. We downplay our wins because we have been taught that easy success is suspicious, that you haven't really earned it unless you suffered for it. But nobody questions the person who suffered for 10 years to get the same result. We never say maybe they chose a hard path unnecessarily. We only question the person who found a smarter way. This isn't just a cultural problem, it has real consequences. We glorify overwork and call it dedication. We shame rest and call it laziness. We admire burnout and call it passion. And we have built workplaces, families, and entire lives around this belief. The employee who stays until midnight gets praised. The one who finishes in 4 hours and goes home gets doubted. Is he really working? Does he take his job seriously? Because in our culture, visible struggle equals visible commitment. If people can't see you suffering, they assume you are not trying. And that belief follows us everywhere, into our homes, into our relationships, into how we raise our children. We have confused presence with productivity, ours with output, struggle with worth, and it's making us miserable. India has one of the highest rates of workplace stress in the world. We work some of the longest hours, and yet we don't talk about it as a problem. We talk about it as a badge of honor. And the sad part, we have stopped questioning whether any of this was ever necessary. So, why do we respect suffering more than success? Because we built a culture that needed suffering to have meaning. Because for generations, pain was unavoidable, so we made it honorable. Because admitting that someone succeeded without suffering threatens the story we have been telling ourselves about why our suffering was worth it. If someone else got there easily, what does that say about all the years we suffered? So we protect the narrative. We doubt the easy wins. We worship the hard road, even when the destination is the same. Success doesn't need to be painful to be real. Rest doesn't need to be earned through exhaustion. Ease is not the enemy of achievement. Life well lived isn't measured by how much you suffered, it's measured by how much you actually lived. Your parents didn't suffer so you could suffer more. They suffered so you wouldn't have to. Honor that by choosing better, not by repeating the cycle. That's the flip. If this made you rethink what we have been taught to admire, share it with someone still glorifying their own burnout. And if you want more perspectives that question what we have normalized, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.